Hello and welcome to the Meeple Mentor YouTube channel. On this video, we are doing our review of Atlantis Rising with the Monstrosities expansion. And I am Jared, and with me as always is Holly. So we are looking at the 1 to 4 player cooperative game that takes about 2 hours to play. Worker placement and shared, it's cooperative, so
it kind of is shared resources once you get to the gate here.
There is this element of, let's make sure one of us has enough resources or one type of resource, because there are instances where you have to craft things and you can work together to craft them. You just have to commit at least one of your workers. So yes, a little bit of shared resources. But yeah, I do think that this is a lot of fun. I have played the base game a couple years ago, but this is the first time playing it with the Monstrosities expansion, which adds quite a few new elements, not just new cards and abilities. And I do like the catastrophic cards that they added in there, because now you can replace some of the calm seas, which just kind of are, thankfully nothing happens, but now some of those can be replaced with actually helpful cards, flip over a flood tile, instead of just no flooding happens, stuff like that. And then the monsters themselves, which if you've watched my unboxing video, they're really good quality, really neat little wooden meeples, screen printed. So I'm curious to hear, Holly's, what your first experience or thoughts are of the game, because you hadn't played it before.
Catastrophe.
Yes.
But in a fun way.
Yes.
It's very chaotic.
Yeah, it definitely has this ancient Greek kind of theming, which I know you're a big fan of that kind of time period in mythology. Of course, it's Atlantis, and instead of rising, it's actually sinking. So.
Yeah, you're trying to keep it from sinking.
We're trying to stop it from sinking. And honestly, we can't really stop it from sinking.
No,
the main thing you do,
flooding.
The main thing you do is actually craft this cosmic gate. All right, the goal is to just basically leave Atlantis.
Right. We're not saving it.
It's gone.
Maybe it's the Atlantis people rising.
The peoples are rising to
get away.
So it could just be called Atlantis escaping or something. It'd be more of more thematic explanation of
I don't know. Rising sounds powerful though. I kind of dig it.
Now you can play this up to 7 players. But I think 4 was a good sweet spot. That's what we ended up playing it with.
Do you think we would have struggled as much if we had more players?
I don't know. Because the thing is, this is one of those games similar to Shadows over Camelot, if you've played that. After every player's turn, a negative thing happens. And so the more players you have, it just kind of evens out that you're just going to see as many negative things before someone becomes the new active first player. I will say that there are a lot of moments in the game that the turn order really doesn't matter. A lot of this is collectively as a group deciding where everybody's workers should be placed. And if there are disagreements, that's where the turn order can be used to break, those sorts of problems. But
we didn't really have any disagreements. Everybody
didn't.
was pretty agreeable. Oh, you need to go here? Sure. Yeah, I'll go there with you.
And there's even a set of actions that, it takes 2 workers, and you would only get 1 new worker if successful. And you can split those 2 workers with yours and another player's, but you still only get 1 new worker. Mm-hmm. And so there's a possible problem or conflict of, well, I contributed.
Who gets it?
Who's going to get it? Yeah.
But we divvied those out pretty fairly.
We tried to keep it pretty even, and everyone was kind of on board with that. And, a lot of times when you've put the guys on the different spaces that you want, and then you might have 1 left over. And so it's well, if I have 1 left over and you have 1 left over, let's pool our resources and try to go for 1 new worker.
Right.
That's pretty much how that tended to work out. If you've never played Atlantis Rising, essentially you've got these 6 arms that kind of jut out like peninsulas from the center. And each arm kind of has a series of tiles that can be flooded, and they tend to flood from the outwards in. And these arms are kind of specialized in gathering resources or converting ore into iron or gaining library cards and gaining new people. So that's basically what these areas represent. And the location spots or tiles at the end of these peninsulas are easier to win, in a sense of you have to roll a die and then hit a certain number. So it's easier to hit those numbers at the ends of these action spaces, but they're also the first tiles to be flooded. And that's really the risk reward situation going on with this game, is if enough of these catastrophe cards come out and flood.
Oh, is that actually what they're called?
Yeah. Or cataclysm or something like that. I think it's catastrophe. But like the
very aptly named.
Yeah, the cards will dictate like one of these 6 regions to start, flooding. And so for every card that gets pulled on it, you got to flip that most outward tile over. If anyone has workers on them, they're no longer used that round. So it's like forfeiting those turns. So it's like, yes, you want to be out there for the ease of those action spaces, but it's risky because, again, they're the first to be flooded.
And we did have a few turns where only one person got to take their actual actions.
It's true. Because not every catastrophe card is simply flood this arm. It could be anyone, on the outside tiles or just not use this round. Like, it's effectively the worst outcome ever.
Yeah.
I will say the Monstrosities expansion adds quite a few new cards into that deck, including some negative ones. Now, I mentioned some of the positives, but some of the negatives can be like monsters themselves. You can like shuffle in a few of these monster cards during setup, and they might target a certain thing. And there's often a choice made where if you're able to pay a certain resource when this card comes up on your turn that you flipped it, you can basically conquer that monster and then claim them or collect them as an ally, effectively another worker for you, with a special ability. So I do like the addition of these potential special ability workers that you get through, luck of the draw. But I will say the biggest addition, there's 2 big ones, but I will say the biggest thing is there are 3 monster scenarios that you can play through that focus on, one of 3 types of monsters that affect the game throughout the game until they are defeated. Potentially. And they don't have to be defeated, but if they are, you gain, them as a reward as well. So I do like this idea of like they start out bad and then you can flip them and, conquer them in some way. Yeah. And then you get some specials and abilities.
It's reformation afoot.
Yeah. There's the one that's themed around Medusa, and it wherever she goes, she freezes some of the workers.
Yes, I know what you're talking about now.
There's the
I was sitting here the whole time like, I don't remember monsters at all. What is he talking about?
There's 3, I think they're harpies.
Yeah.
And they steal things. And then there's the 2 water-based monsters.
Yes, Charybdis and
Chimera, maybe?
No, Chimera is something entirely different. Hold on, Scylla.
Scylla, yeah.
Scylla and Charybdis.
Yes. So those are the 3 scenarios you can do, but you don't have to do the scenarios. But it is a nice way to add some variability to your gameplay. But the other big change that I like is there are these items that you can craft. That's introduced with the expansion, like the speed boots and the cloak and the those are things that you can make if you have one of 2 characters or special situations, and you would craft them at the gate the same way that you would craft any other gate portal piece. Those are very useful, and they also have a one-time ability if you choose to get rid of it and kind of
do the thing.
Otherwise, they're great, typically ongoing abilities. But yeah, the main course of the game is essentially, collecting these resources and then going to the gate to pay a certain resource, collection to build all these different gate pieces. And there's I want to say 8 or 9 of them.
Something like that.
And those are random every game. Of course, they're labeled A, B, and C, so they're maybe for your first game only do the A options and stuff. So there's stuff like that. But Obviously, the expansion adds some really cool new portals that I liked a lot.
Was that one that allowed you to pick up a
the mystic
thing?
Orbs.
Yes, those.
Yeah. So it
was
definitely.
That one of them?
I think that was base game one.
Oh.
So the character I had interacted with the available portals before they're even built. It was the Artificer, I believe. And if I go there with my main leader, I can basically use any worker spot on an unbuilt portal tile, and other players can use it as well when I do that. So it's a way to make the game a little easier so that you can get access to some beneficial portals before you build them. And I think for us, the tile that was useful is to be able to collect essentially
Did we use anything else? I feel like we didn't use anything else.
Yeah, it was limited to only the ones that have like worker spaces on them. The other one wasn't as useful, I think, early on, just collecting that the orb power, the magic, tokens. Mystic power.
The little the bath bead thing.
They're like little marbles, like flat on one side, It's a very colorful game. It's very bright. It's, it's nice to look at.
That would be one thing that kind of put me off a little is, I have vision issues. So it was really hard to read. It was really hard to read.
Okay. So.
And I'm not even colorblind, but it was really hard to read.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Some of the worker spots are kind of blended in really well to the artwork, so it can be difficult to see from across the table, like how many worker spaces there are and stuff like that.
I mean, even if I'm right up on it, sometimes the text blends into the background. The iconography blends in to the background. It's like camouflage.
Yeah. I will say...
Which coincidentally is what a chimera is.
Not that. I do like the added library cards and just the general usefulness that you can get for some very cool cards that are in the deck. Always worth it to try to go for those if you're looking for a place to go with your worker. But, it's a really fun co-op. Like, I think it's akin to the difficulty of Shadows over Camelot, where you're always going to feel like you're losing until you win.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have I played? I don't think I've played that game.
I don't think you have. But Shadows was like in 2005.
Take his word for it.
Maybe earlier. It was like one of the first mainstream, like, co-op games, and especially co-op games with a trader option. This one, there's not really a trader in it. I think that would make
not
it
unless you just
too difficult.
Be
a problem child.
I was trying to think of the nice way to say that.
Yeah, there's really not a need for it in this game. It is quite difficult enough, but it's at the right difficulty that you want for a co-op game. I think that's important.
I think the one thing that was the funniest thing that we ran into was we do have a problem where we sometimes have like-minded people where everybody wants to go to the same spot to help everybody out. And it's like, okay, well, who's going to go here? And then you go over here, and it's very cooperative that way.
Yeah, you definitely have to work together and make some concessions if everybody's wanting to do the same stuff. But there's enough variety in options and in the kinds of portals that you can build, and that's really the flavor of this. It makes you want to try it again and see the different kinds of abilities that you might get, and that kind of stuff. I think it's the cards and the portals that really help, but the expansion is definitely worth looking into because of the added scenarios and the extra content just from the way of cards and portals themselves too. So we had a blast. I'm definitely keeping this on my shelf and bringing it out whenever we get a big group that wants something difficult to play together.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So
I wouldn't really call it difficult.
No?
Huh.
What would you say?
Medium light. It's that.
It's not
that. It's not.
It's not complicated.
Yeah.
But it is a difficult game to win.
Well, yeah,
That's kind of what I'm
I'll give
saying.
you that. I'll give you that.
It's like something very
Listen,
challenging.
Anything co-op, I expect to lose. Anything. Like if we win, it's a miracle.
And this is the kind of game where you feel like you're going to lose the entire time until like the last turn, and then everyone rejoices because it's always close.
My first real actual venture into co-op, if I'm not mistaken, was Frostpunk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll set a precedent.
Mm-hmm. That's quite the first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Check out our Frostpunk review to hear our thoughts on that game. And I hadn't played the video game either, so this will be, that review is someone who knows board games and hasn't played the video game, and then someone who's new to board games at the time and also hadn't played the video game.
I've never heard of it, honestly.
So it's just an open review on the board game. Check it out. But any final thoughts on Atlantis Rising?
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
It's almost anything with Greek themology to begin with has tipped the scale in my favor.
And I think they make good
So when it
of
turns out to be a good game, that's like, yay!
That's awesome. So definitely check it out if you're looking for a good co-op for up to 7 players. It takes about 2 hours to play. It seems about right. And that's been our review. Thanks for watching. I've been Jared.
I'm Holly.
We'll see you in the next video. Bye.